And here's why. The world is focused on artificial intelligence. And my concern is for you as a relational professional is you're going to get so excited about artificial intelligence that you're going to miss the fact of how relationships are developed. Now, am I recommending that you not fully embrace technology? Am I endorsing that you not use artificial intelligence? No, in no way am I saying that. But what I am saying is that it's essential for you to understand that human trust is critical in order for you to reach your potential and maintain your place in servicing clients in your particular industry, in this case, the real estate industry. Today's guest is going to talk all about conversational intelligence, how you can couple not just artificial intelligence that you're learning everywhere else, but couple that with conversational intelligence to really set yourself apart as a professional who succeeds at the highest levels. It's going to be a great episode. So the big question is this: how do those of us in the real estate industry who have crazy amounts of ambition, how do we think bigger than the building of our own empires? How do we create success and significance, income and impact? My name is Justin Stoddard. This is my co-host Stephanie Peck, and together we bring you the Think Bigger Real Estate. All right, welcome back, everybody. I'm without my lovely co-host, but today I have a lovely guest. So I'm excited to welcome Mary Schmid. Now, let me just, before I even welcome Mary, let me just say a few things. Mary is a speaker, author, and mentor to financial services, CEOs, and professionals. So if you're thinking to yourself, like, yeah, that describes me, right? And or it describes the professionals with whom I want to be in business with, in network with, right? As a real estate agent, you might be thinking about, boy, I would love to really be able to think and talk and act like and even get referrals from a financial advisor. Well, learning how to communicate at the highest level from somebody who is their mentor would be a great place to start. So with that being said, I'm very excited to welcome Mary Schmid. Thank you for coming on to the Think Bigger Real Estate podcast today.
Oh, thank you, Justin. It's my pleasure to be here. And thank you for the invitation to be with you and your listeners.
Yes. I'm so excited about this topic. I really feel like you are onto something that too many people are missing right now, right? There's guru after guru talking about the power of AI. And I agree, it's absolutely alarming what can happen with AI. Yet if we miss this part, my concern is that it's going to expedite the disintermediation of professionals if they don't understand what you're going to teach us here today, Mary. So share with if there's any more of your background that would be necessary here, let's go ahead and dive right in.
Yeah, briefly, my story is really briefly in a couple sentences, as I thought I was really good at conversation, like all of you think that you're really good at conversation. You wouldn't be where you're at if you didn't have some skill in conversation. But what I discovered was that there's so much more to a conversation that we don't know about. And when we understand the hidden language of trust that's in the conversations, we can adapt, modulate, and reframe how we talk with others. So it's not just a good conversation, it's a trust-based conversation. And the whole premise is a good conversation does not translate into a trust-based conversation, one where I want to share with you what's going on, I want to be with you, I want to be your partner, I trust you.
That's fascinating, isn't it? Is that you can actually be in conversations with people and be, with some you're building trust and with others you're not. And right. In fact, share with us, there's that you've taught me before, which is this chemical reaction that's taking place one way or the other.
Yes. And that's the premise of the work that I do, that in every conversation, there's a hidden language of trust. How we speak to others triggers a biochemical reaction in our brains that either allow us to open up and connect and be honest and open, or shuts us down. So when we're feeling threatened in a conversation, our brain automatically, instinctually releases cortisol, and cortisol shuts us down. Yet in other conversations, when we're feeling involved and safe and like the other person is really listening to us, our brain gets triggered, releases oxytocin and other biochemicals. But oxytocin is a social bonding chemical, which opens up my brain to trust. It opens me up to think bigger, to problem solve, to be with you in conversation, that I can maintain an openness. And that's the difference.
You said the magic words. You said think bigger, Mary, and that's the show that we're on today. So what I hear you saying is that oxytocin. No, is that
Yes.
right? Okay, oxytocin
Oxytocin.
is
Oh,
is the chemical that the brain releases that causes us to trust and be open and to think bigger. I love that.
exactly.
You've taught me something new here today. That's amazing, because that's what we want to go for as big thinkers and high achievers, people who pursue both success and significance. Right? That's us.
Mhm.
What I hear you saying is that we should pursue not only to experience oxytocin in our own brains, but we should learn to trigger that in the brains of other people.
Precisely. And when we trigger that in other people, trigger that by what we say and the levels of conversation that we lead. There's lots of things that we can trigger, but that is our job. Knowing the science of this, our job is to say more and do more that leaves a positive impact on others so that they're wanting to talk with us. It triggers the oxytocin. They want to be open. They can better problem solve. They're more creative and they can think bigger. You see, when we're stressed by cortisol, it's the amygdala that's running the show. And we know what the amygdala does. It just repeats over and over what we know. But when we open up the brain with oxytocin, we open up to possibilities beyond what we even know. And when we know how to trigger that in conversations, our ability to partner with people exponentially grows. And to me, that's where the action is, where you and I are in partnership to create something bigger.
Mary, you've got me hooked on this. I've never known this about thinking bigger, right? I know kind of the process that it takes to think bigger, but I never knew what was happening inside the brain at a chemical level. So my question then to you becomes, if oxytocin released in the brain is the pathway to help people to think bigger and to trust more, right? How does one go about, number one, experiencing an oxytocin release in their own brain, let alone trigger that in other people?
Yeah, that's a great question. And you're right on again. And that is, it starts with you, the individual. individual. So if we want to trigger oxytocin, we have to identify what triggers us that sets us off versus what doesn't. And so when we prepare for a conversation, this is what I say, let's prime ourselves to lead a conversation. You know the science, you know enough to get you going. So let's do step number one, which is prepare yourself, prime yourself to lead a trust-based conversation. And what does that mean? It means getting your oxytocin going first. How do you do that? You prepare. It's not about the papers and all the things that you want to say. It's about first taking a really calm breath and reset your nervous system. Think about number two, think about what you want to say. What's the purpose of the conversation that we're going to have? And what do I hope to accomplish? Okay, now you've got your thinking clear. Now let's switch your thinking to the other person. And what about that other person that you're going to have a conversation with? What's going on in their world? What may be their situation? What might they want to talk about? Okay, now how, and the most important question is, Justin, how do you want them to feel as a result of talking with you?
So up front, what I hear you saying is that we should not just go into conversations. If we really want to be intentionally helpful and inspiring people to think bigger, there needs to be some forethought. There needs to be some proactive preparation that causes us to almost not plan out, right? We don't want to be scripted, but to think about the things that we can say and maybe even the way that we say them that cause people to trust, that cause people to be open. Is that what I'm understanding? And please
That's
expound.
exactly what you're saying. That's exactly you got it, Justin. And that is, we don't take the time to prepare ourselves to be in an open, relaxed position going into the conversation. So when we get in the conversation, the first thing people see and the first thing that they do is they read our energy. Within less than a second, we talk about first impressions, but within less than a second, before you even say a word, my brain has decided if you're friend or foe based on the nonverbals and the energy fields that you are presenting. So when you present with someone that's a calm, relaxed, open position, smile, warm eyes, they're going to think, oh my gosh, this person is friendly, versus someone, Justin, who is tight and excited and rambles on and goes on and on. they get a totally different impression. So let's leverage our brain to help us to do that. And so the first step is prepare yourself. Sounds pretty simple, incredibly effective.
Walk us through what some of the practices may be, and I would imagine that for each person that's employing this methodology, is that it can be different for each person, right? Oxytocin release in my brain is maybe different than the process for releasing it in yours. But what are some things that maybe you do or people who you've worked with do in order to prepare to have that kind of energy, right? When you're in the presence of other people? Is there some sort of ritual that you go through
I
or
just described the ritual. So actually what I do and what I teach my clients to do, Justin, is to take, I call it the 2-minute drill. You've got all your papers, you've got your documents, you sort of have this idea of what you want to do. You're stressed, you're busy, you're running around. Take that 2 minutes. Calm, breathe. Easiest, fastest, quickest, simplest way to reset this cortisol that's running through your system is to breathe. It feeds your brain oxygen, and that's what you need. So we breathe to calm ourselves. And then step 2 is we prepare ourselves. What is it that I want to talk to you about? Why is it important? What do I hope to accomplish? And then I think about you. This is the critical point. We think about ourselves all the time. And so when we consciously tell our brain, okay, I'm thinking about the person that I'm going to be talking with, it automatically clicks in. What we tell our brain to do, it does. And so I'm thinking about the person that I'm going to have this interaction with, Justin, and who are they and what's going on and what may be in their world. Okay, it automatically flips your brain to open up to think about them versus all about you.
This so much resonates with a podcast I was listening to this morning, in which they were talking about the simple principles of selling, right? They tried and true. And they said all too often people come into a conversation wanting to talk about their product, and they come in thinking about what they want to accomplish from it. And what I heard you just say was exactly which was taught as well, is if you truly want to be not like a slick, fast talking salesperson, but someone who actually invites people to want to partner with you and sees your product as a solution, is that you need to come in really looking to identify if you can help them. And then number one, the conversation is completely about how you can help them, not about your product, not about getting them across the line, but like, how can I genuinely help this person? And it's interesting to hear you say that it's not just the words that you say, but it's the feeling and energy that you emanate when you walk into those settings and you genuinely are there saying, how can I serve and help this person? It triggers something in yourself. And I'm assuming that if they're in a similar spot, that it triggers it in the other side as well.
Exactly. It's that energy exchange that our brain automatically reads before we even speak our words. The other thing that I teach people is that you need to be aware of the patterns of your conversation. So piggybacking on what you've just said, Justin, in that as many times we go into a conversation and we want to tell people everything that we know because that's going to convince them of our value. Or we go into a conversation that we want to persuade them that our product, that our service, that we're the best thing on the planet. And both of those conversations have the impact on the other person of shutting them down. They feel spoken to, they feel backed into a corner. They, quite honestly, they check out from listening to you because you're going on and on and on about yourself and not them. And why do we do this? Well, because our brain helps us do that. When we talk about ourselves, we get the dopamine hit. And the more we talk, the better we feel, the more we talk, and it goes on and on. And the person sitting across from us is long gone. They're thinking about, like, how do I get out of this conversation? This isn't meaningful to me. I'm not involved. I'm not invited. I have no part in it.
It really
and so
is.
what we need to do is really using this principle of preparing ourselves is to invite people into our conversation. Invite them in. How do we do that? Well, the first words out of our mouth is not about the weather and the rapport building that you've been taught. It's about, hi, Justin. I'm happy to see you today. I'm looking forward to our meeting. Boom, let it land. It automatically triggers an oxytocin in the other person. And then as we begin, you can simply, I encourage personal before business, like what's going on in your world. Some people will love to talk about that. Other people will say, let's just get down to business. Okay, then let's get down to business. But when we get down to business, before we start, Justin, I'm inviting you in again. What's most important to you that we cover today? Okay, great. I have some ideas that I was preparing, and here's a couple thoughts that I have. May I share them with you? Boom. Okay, you've got your agenda, I've got my agenda. We kind of put it together and we create a roadmap. Justin, why this is important is our brain loves structure. It loves to know where we're going. It loves to know what to expect. It's prediction making machine. And when we calm that anxiety about like what's this conversation about and have that initial discussion before we begin into the business, we have a clear roadmap. Calms the anxiety. I feel better as leading the conversation, but you also know what's going to happen, and it lowers the angst and you're ready to receive.
It's almost, and I've been in meetings like that. In fact, I'll give you two scenarios where either I myself or the person I'm meeting with comes in late, disheveled. Right? In fact, funny enough, poor Mary today, my podcast preparation wasn't what it normally was. And so, right, I came in a little bit disheveled, and I'm sure the energy that I put off was a little more cortisol inducing. And as I'm sitting here talking to you, Mary, my cortisol is now gone. My oxytocin is open. So you've applied this principle. And so that's one scenario, right? Whereas the other scenario is where you prepare early, and this conversation up front. I've said this before, but probably more experience with other people saying it to me. And I immediately have so much respect for the person when they say, "What is it that you're hoping to accomplish in our meeting today?" Like that question to me is like, wow, right? And it's so simple. But what it says, it's a selfless question. It's showing respect for their time. It's showing that I'm intentional, and it's showing that that we're obviously dedicating this time together for a certain reason. So let's be really clear on what that is so that we can be sure and accomplish that, or at least know that that's what we're trying to accomplish. And it's absolutely so simple. And yet this concept of conversational intelligence, you guys, this is absolutely brilliant moves by a brilliant person. So wonderful, Mary.
So what you've effectively done, Justin, and again, you so understand this. Maybe you don't have the words and you don't call it converse, but you intuitively know that, because when you do that, what's most important that we discuss, you immediately have triggered the oxytocin in them once again. And what it shows them, it's not words on the wall. It shows them that you're interested, that you care, that you're available, and you're there for them. That's what we talk about. And trust is when people feel heard, understood, and valued. And you've just demonstrated that by one simple question.
I feel like I'm thinking of some of the other things that our guests, again, primarily like residential real estate agents, right? Who have, and primarily those who are relationship based. And this is, as you're listening to this, to our audience, I want you to think about when you're preparing to step into a meeting, and then when you're there, right? Just that feeling of someone's really present, they're asking good questions. And that to me just causes what you said as we started this episode, which is it induces trust. It induces an affinity towards somebody. And this concept of being present. I know for me, when I see someone who's there, but they're kind of looking at their phone, it causes angst. It's like, it creates this kind of cortisol of like, they're here, but they're not really here. I'm thinking of that both in professional settings as well as in home settings, right? How I've done that to my family, right? Both sides. And it's causing me to just think that like, what am I releasing in their brain as I'm either present with them or not present with them?
Yeah, being present is critically important. And the best way to get present is to prepare. Prepare yourself. Calm, relax. I'm here to serve. I'm here to help. I'm here to learn about you and what it is that you are looking for, to see if I can be of service to you. And that whole switch versus I'm here to tell you what I do. I'm here to tell you that you got to work with me. I'm here to show you all the charts and the graphs and all these reasons why I'm so good. It totally flips that on its head. And it starts with a very warm, compassionate human. It's a human thing. I'm a human talking to another human.
Well, that's the part that I hope that that is sinking in for all of us who are relationship-based professionals, is that I believe that those professionals who double down on the skills that we're talking about today will be the last man standing in a world of disintermediation, right? Where technology mimics compassion, it mimics humanity. But you and I both know, Mary, that sitting across from someone, even if it's virtually, right, as you're
Mhm,
speaking and you're evoking emotions in me, because
mhm.
you have a human story and I have a human story, and no computer can ever like I know, even though maybe technology can mimic that, I know that they've never felt what I'm feeling because they're not human, right? And so
Precisely.
to intentionally feel something, help someone else to feel something, and then to talk about those feelings is distinct and separate and untouchable by computers, right? And I think we have to really double down on that, because humans will, in my opinion, be starved for that. In a
Yeah.
world of artificial, they will be starving for real human connection and feeling that someone else feels something positive for them.
I agree. It's time to double down on our conversations and how and understanding and learning about ourselves and how we impact the people that we're in conversation with. Because I agree with you, Justin. The world is starving for real connection.
Yeah.
Not about me, not about what I do, but someone who really is interested,
Mhm.
wants to learn more about me, cares about me. And no computer can do that. Your artificial intelligence can describe it and describe situations,
Mhm.
things, say be more empathetic. Well, how do you be more empathetic? And that's where I drill down and simply say, let's figure this out. And and I think it's important to understand, like you do, the principles. Because once we have the principles, it's not a script, but once we understand the principles, we then can apply it in many different ways. I always say principles before tactics. Principles. Why do you do this? What happens in the brain, and how can I leverage this to build trust with the people that I work with? Okay, I get that piece now. How do I execute on that? It's your voice, your personality, your way. Because you're not going to say things the same way that I am, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And that's good. That's what sets us apart on our unique ability. But when we think bigger, we simply get out of the um, thoughtfulness that a conversation is just about words and sharing information. It's so much more than that, because through conversations we have the ability to reach out to people and touch their heart
Hmm.
in a way that we listen, the way that we connect, and the way that we understand.
It's almost like what I hear you saying is that as the world, we've been talking about words, and again, I'll go back to AI. AI is very good at giving us the right
Yeah.
words, but real communication is feelings, it's energy.
Mhm.
It's helping other people to feel something. Is that, am I off
Yes,
basis there?
that's where it all begins, because you know that we're emotional human beings. We make decisions and then just emotionally and then justify them rationally. I mean, we know that. And so, in order to really reach people, we have to touch that emotional button in a positive way.
Hmm.
And it can be simple things like we've already talked about, Justin, is just inviting you into the conversation and then
Mhm.
really listening to what is your situation. I call it's listening to connect, not correct.
Mhm.
Many times we're in conversations, we're listening and we're finding in our minds all these things that this person doesn't know, or all these things that are wrong. Stop that and just really focus and be present and listen to connect. Understand their situation, what's really going on. And then have the courage and the skill to take it one level deeper and simply say, okay, so I understand the situation. What what were you feeling in that? What
Mm.
were you thinking? How did that impact you? You see, when you ask these simple questions, you not only show that you're listening, you show them you're listening, and you want to go deeper. And then people, when you ask the right kinds of things, will want to talk about that. Or not. If they don't want to talk about it, they'll say, well, I don't really want to talk about it. But more than likely, they're willing to share their story and what's going on with them. So now you have this beautiful bucket of information and feelings and thoughts about who they are and what's going on in their world. Now you're ready to help them.
Mm. Mary, I'm in love with this topic. This is so good. Oh my goodness, because it's really the superpower of human connection, which to me is becoming more and more rare all the time. And
Yeah.
to think that our professionals who are listening to this, both in the pursuit of success, meaning getting more clients to want to do business with them, as
Hmm.
well as in the role of significance, which is, again, helping, even being great at home and in our relationships and in our church service and in our community service, like to be able to take these skills and to go connect with people who are literally starving for this kind of connection. You
Yeah.
realize how impactful we'll become, how much success is waiting for us, how much significance is waiting for us by implementing these skills. Like, this is so exciting. Like, I'm absolutely loving this.
Yeah. And so I'll tell you a quick story, if I may.
Please.
So, working with a financial advisor, we went to an appreciation event, and he introduces me to his wife. And his wife, Gabby, walks up to me and she says, "You're the reason for our dinner discussions." And I'm thinking, like, okay. She goes, "You're the reason. What you taught my husband, Matt, he's taken home." And so our dinner discussions with our two 6-year-old twins and our 9-year-old are not about how was school, what'd you do today? It's like, what was the best part of your day? One question simply opens it up. And she goes, "Sometimes these discussions go way over dinner. It's because of you that we have this ability now to not only talk with each other like that, but to teach our children how to really connect." That's my favorite story of all time, because you're absolutely right. Business wise, when you employ this and reach people this way, it does give you the competitive advantage, because not many people know how to do this. And when you do this, I want to work with you. I want to be with you. I want to help you. I want to be your partner. I want to help you grow, because you're thinking outside of the box. You're thinking bigger than just the normal conversation. But it becomes so embedded in your brain, it becomes the way that you deal with people, with your wife, with your children, with your partners, in the service that you do that's outside of your job, in your church, in your community, in your foundation work, all of that. It just becomes the way, it really changes your brain at a level that it becomes who you are. Who you are. I'm a super connector because I love people and I want to connect with them and I want to hear their story. And this is how I can do it.
This is so good. I hope everyone's loving this as much as I am, because I'm just thinking about, Mary. I mean, and I consider myself a relational person.
Uh huh.
And yet, what you've taught me here today is going to make me so much better at this, right? Like, not just being present, but really understanding what's happening, even at a cellular level, right? And stepping into these conversations with a different perspective and a different goal on what's happening inside of them. I think about failed marriages, failed business partnerships, failed. Typically, it's because this is not happening. That
Right.
that there's this dissonance. They don't understand each other anymore. I want this and I want this, and it's and I get that both have to want this, right? So maybe somebody here has had a marriage that didn't work out because you tried and they didn't, right? And that it takes two, right? But
Right.
imagine if both couple, or both, husband and wife, or um, you know, child and parent
Hmm.
really sought to really understand each other and to help each other to feel heard, and to have deeper conversations that really allowed me to understand where you're at and what you're feeling, and then had a desire to help you to feel something even better, more positive. Like, that is just the foundation of a really happy life, right? I mean, it's a foundation of a successful life and a happy life, because there's connection to other humans.
Exactly. Exactly. And the convert when we learn more about this and actively work it, we literally not only change our brain chemistry, we change the brain chemistry of those that we're talking with in a really positive way. So it allows us to see differences without blame or criticism, to see that you have something to offer and I do too. They may not be the same thing, but we can put that together. And the ultimate is putting our strengths together so we co create. You have your eyes strengths, I have my strengths. Let's put them together, figure out together how we can do that. And we co create new opportunities, new possibilities, new relationships, new partners. We take it from a me conversation to a we conversation.
Hmm. That's probably a really nice way to summarize this, right? Is that in conversations um, where there's not this kind of connection, it's usually because it's one side is selfish, right? Whether
Mhm.
that's they're in it for them or they're not really present, they're not really coming to give value and to connect with that person.
Yeah.
But when it's like we are having a conversation, right? We are in a partnership, we are in a marriage, we are in a relationship. That feeling of I'm here to help you uh, receive value and to improve your situation. That's a really powerful, beautiful place to come from. And
And it's a beautiful place to live because I know you've got my back no matter what.
yeah, yeah.
That I can count on you. You can count on me. When the going is good, it's wonderful. When the going isn't as good, you're there. I can count on you. And there's not a better feeling in the world than to know who you can really count on to be there for you.
Mm. And Mary, you've read the upstream model,
I
right?
have.
You even go so far as to recognize what I speak about in the book, which is the most powerful way to scale a business of impact is through strategic partnerships with other professionals. And
Correct.
and I want everyone to think about this, right? While so many people are trying to nurture the world through automation, right? Taking these principles and going to a professional who already shares all of your same clients. I know you coach and mentor financial advisors, right? Financial advisors and real estate agents can be wildly helpful to each other, right? They
Complementary partners, helpful.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
And I
And
love how you talk about thinking bigger to scale your business. I want your audience to think bigger about how they can scale their conversations and transfer it from a good conversation to a trust based. Because when you do that, the partners that you develop and scaling your business will just exponentially grow.
oftentimes people think, well, this is all great, but I don't know if I have time to spend this much time with people. And my invitation to you, again, as I teach in the upstream model, is that it's not about quantity of contacts. It's about the depth of the right relationships, right? You have the right strategic partner. They can open up, 10 doors for you. Meanwhile, you're over there trying to get 10 doors to open, right? And you can't get any of them to open, but that one person. So taking these skills and applying them, not
Yeah.
just to your marriages, not just to your business partnerships, but to these strategic partnerships that open up the door. I've seen so many applications for this, Mary. Really, anytime you're wanting to advance a human relationship for your good and for theirs, what you teach is so applicable. Mary, talk to us about how people would learn more about you. If they're like, this is just scratching the surface, this is where I need to go. I need to double down and become an expert at conversational intelligence. How do they
There's
find you?
Thank you for asking and thank you for that question, Justin. There's two ways. For your listeners only, I have created a special it's called a white paper about conversations and how trust-based conversations are your competitive advantage. And so they can get that for free. No opt-in, no nothing. They can go to Mary at maryschmid.com/think bigger. And that's for your audience. So they can do that. They can also get a free copy of my book. And the third option is that they can just call me, text me, email me, say, I'm interested in learning more. And I always have time to have a conversation. I'm also on LinkedIn.
So I'm going to say, I just want to repeat that. So it was maryschmid.com, SCHMID, just like you see on her name there,
Yep.
/ was it Think Bigger? Is that what you said?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, cool.
We sent that forward to you.
I love it. We'll be sure and put that in the show notes. Mary, thank you so much.
My pleasure for being able to share. And I'm hoping that this brings some value and at least a way for people to think differently about how they talk with other people and a couple tips on how you can think bigger.
Yeah. And that's, you've given us the science about human connection. You've given us the science behind thinking bigger, which no one's ever done in almost 500 episodes. I now understand it at a deeper level. So what a pleasure. Thank you so much, Mary, for being here. And for all of those who are listening here today, I have one simple request, and you know what it is. It is these three simple words, which are go think bigger. Mary, thank you for helping us do that today.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Before you go, we've got one more invitation for you. We all know that listening to a podcast is not enough to help you to become a big thinker and high achiever. We must take action. So the very first step, think about one lesson learned from this podcast that you'd like to apply, and send it to us in the form of a direct message at Think Bigger Real Estate. We look forward to hearing from you, and